Welcome to WVTC TV Network, capturing family moments in real time, bringing families closer together from the comforts of home. We are unleashing something different to the world. Start your subscription today for the low price of $4.99 per month or $55 annually. Go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com to sign up today. WVTC TV Network is streaming live on 8 different platforms. You can easily download the WVTC TV Network app on the Apple Store, Play Store, Roku, Fire TV, and more. Here at WVTC TV, we have access to movies that everyone can enjoy, including independent films, Sons of a Preacher and a Good Thing, Treasures of Life, the epic drama, The Passion of the Christ, and the box office hit Madagascar Escape to Africa. Remember, go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com and sign up today.
The following program contains views that are not those of WVTC, iNetworks Communications, their subsidiaries, affiliates, or financial supporters.
Hey, y'all. Good morning. Good God morning. You have tuned in to the Solutions Radio Show. I am your host, Corey Wright. My other co-host, Gigi McKenzie, won't be here today. She's not feeling good, so let us lift up in prayer. I am excited because we have one of the most phenomenal women ever created, one of the most powerful, intelligent, bright women you will ever hear. Somebody who's not only a veteran, we just had Veterans Day. Let's give her a clap. She has done so much great things in the community. She's followed by so many people. It's such an honor to have her here, and you guys are going to truly be blessed with her intelligence, her knowledge, her love for God, her love for people, her love for family, her love, period. So I am introducing to some and presenting to others, Miss Anita Smith. How you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to WVTC and the Solutions Radio Show.
All
and
right.
Of course, the co-host.
Co-star will be done.
Your host, Corey Wright. I appreciate you having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
I appreciate it. And as always, we know what the problems are. We know we need to solve them. What we offer on this platform is solutions. Dedicated action to bring about true change, not just talked about change, and no excuses for excuses are man's tools of incompetence that build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothing. Broadcasting live from the WBTC radio and TV networks here in Illinois. Well, how are you? Tell us a little bit about you. We want to know who Anita Smith is.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a child of God. I'm a Christian woman who I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, just a lover of people. You know, I do a lot of different things. As you said earlier, I am a military veteran from the U.S. Army. I work currently for the federal government. I'm a licensed boating captain. I do a lot.
Now, you don't hear a lot of boating captains, but she is a boat captain.
Yes.
So if we get out there on the ocean, you can get us back.
I can get you back.
Oh, okay. I feel better. I may go out there now. At first, I'm like, listen, if it ain't in no tub, I'm not getting in that water. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. Well, we're talking about a very, very deep subject today. We're talking about reconciliation. When we talk about reconciliation, what does that mean to you? How do you view reconciliation? What is reconciliation to you?
I view reconciliation as being in right relationship, with myself, with others, with God.
Wow.
And so you want to align all of those things in your life. You want to create that balance. And sometimes we can be good with other people, or we think we're good with other people, but we're not even good with ourselves. And until we get good with who we are, we really will never be okay with other people.
Ooh,
you know?
okay.
And so, yeah, identifying who you are for me comes through my relationship with God. If I'm not connected to the source, then I'm nothing. You know, the way that I see it.
Do you feel like reconciliation is hard? Or people mix forgiveness and reconciliation up?
It's definitely mixed up. Because you can forgive somebody but not be in relationship or fellowship.
Okay.
So we do get it mixed up. I feel like it's my responsibility to reconcile with others. I feel like it's my responsibility to forgive.
Okay.
But that does not mean that a person has to have access. But it is not the easiest thing in the world, because if somebody does you wrong, or if you've been through hurt and been through trauma, a lot of times we're not taught how to forgive yourself or how to move forward. We're not given the right tools. We're not given all the things that we need to make that happen.
You know, I agree, because reconciliation has so many broad scopes to it, because you not only have to reconcile with people, but you have to reconcile, like you said, with yourself, with your decision making. You got to reconcile with God. Yeah. A lot of times, but people think that reconciliation is something that is easy to do. You know, and it's so important with God, where he said, lay down your gifts and go to that person. So a lot of people look at reconciliation as, you know, it just happens, or it's just easy.
I think the easiest thing to do is be mad at somebody. That's what's easy.
Yes.
Because that comes natural. You know, somebody do you wrong, you want to fight. You know, you want to put up the dukes. You want to put up your guard. You want to build walls around you so they can't hurt you. And you feel like you need to protect yourself. And so, unfortunately, a lot of people are more comfortable with anger than they are loving somebody in spite of themselves.
You know, I thought about that, because one of the things that when we think about reconciliation, we have to reconcile ourselves to our decision making.
Yeah,
that was something that
that's good.
I used to always say to myself, why did I make that decision?
Yeah,
you know, and then I would beat myself on the what ifs. Like, you know, why am I still holding on to this? You know, what is the point of me holding on to something that I've made the decision? Because in order for me to move past it, I have to accept I made it. I have to reconcile myself to that. Like when God woke me up with this topic, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm up, I'm reading, I'm writing my Bible, and I'm studying. And he was like, you have not reconciled with a lot of things. You haven't reconciled with your decision making. You haven't reconciled that a mistake happened. You know, you haven't reconciled with the fact that maybe you can't be everywhere you want to be at, or maybe you can't be with a certain person. Maybe you can't be at a certain place. Yeah. You know, you have not reconciled that, because a lot of times our reconciliation is on what could be opposed to what is.
Yeah, I think one of the key words that we have to think about in reconciliation is responsibility. Because I think one of the toughest times in my life, when I was struggling, absolutely devastated, I was hurt in a relationship, I was depressed, and I was angry. And I didn't want to be. And so I spent a good 2 years trying to forgive this person for what I felt they had done to me. And I could not get to that place of forgiveness. And not only that, but this person was begging me to forgive them, asking me for that forgiveness. And I just couldn't. Every time I would think about it, I would be upset, or I would feel hurt. Or if I thought I got past it, I'd find myself right back in that situation.
Wow.
But it wasn't until I realized that the reason that I couldn't forgive that person, because that person wasn't the person I needed to forgive. I needed to forgive myself.
Go deep. Come on, talk about it.
Because of my choices. That person didn't ever make me be in relationship with them. That person didn't put a gun to my head and say, you're going to stick by me or else. that was all my choices and my doing. I could have walked away sooner and prevented a lot of that. Or I could have created better boundaries and said, no, you can't, this is not how, I'm going to be treated. But I didn't. And so on some level, I had to accept the responsibility that it was not that person's doing. It was my doing. And so once I learned to forgive myself, then instantly I was released to forgive that person.
Ooh, that's deep. You opened the whole can with that one.
Man.
You know what I've learned when it comes to forgiving, reconciling with people, is that everyone has a root before they met me. They have a journey.
Yeah.
My therapist used to always tell me, Corey, you got to stop mourning. You have to stop mourning people that's already dead, or mourning situations that's already dead, or stop mourning stuff where there is no work at. You have to, okay, you know what? We're mourning the probability of what could be opposed to what is.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you reconcile, you must reconcile to something. A lot of people are reconciling to the idea of what could be opposed to the idea of what is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we fall in love with somebody's possibility or their potential, but not who they are. Because one of the things I had to learn in recently, in maybe a year and a half, my therapist always tell me that you don't lose value from something that's not there. We love people and we want the best for them and we believe they could be great. But we have to understand, without actual work, all I'm coming back to is somebody's promises.
Yeah.
Or somebody's coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
Like if I love somebody, that's an action word and you see it. Like if we have a home, we have a business, we do it, and we just for some reason can't get along together. Okay. Yeah. We have all these things that God has blessed us with. So now we have an avenue of reconciliation and study promises.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to do that. And so a lot of times people reconcile with the idea of a person, but not the reality of a person. What do you think about that?
I think that's spot on, because we have to be realistic. I think from a Christian perspective, it can get challenging or confusing because we're taught to hope. We're taught to believe. Ooh. We're taught to see the best in a person. And sometimes we can see more in somebody than they see in themselves.
Yes.
And so that's where we create this idea of potential. Oh man, this person could just be so awesome if they. But that's not fair to them, because they are who they are, and we have to accept them for who they are and where they're at. Or even our situations. We might want a certain thing, but we don't have that right now. So we have to deal in reality. We have to be realistic, but we're taught to hope. We're taught to have faith. And sometimes that can get confusing.
But you know what? But when we think about our reconciliation, a lot of times we can't reconcile with people because we haven't reconciled with ourselves, with God first.
Yeah.
We haven't reconciled the things that we know that has been detrimental to us.
Yeah.
One of the things that have always been detrimental to me was that I felt like everybody can go. And that, I had a God complex. I can help everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm praying to God to give me more. And God's like, the more I give you, the more you give away. And you got to realize that you have to reconcile yourself to the fact that you're not God and you can't help everybody. You got to reconcile yourself to the fact that some people are going to live the life they live no matter what you do, what you say, or what you give them. They will not do more. And so when I look at reconciling myself, how can I reconcile my decision-making for others if I can't reconcile my decision-making for myself?
Yeah, I think you got it. I mean, the first thing is that connection with God, that reconciliation with God, because I think that's a fundamental aspect of relationships, period.
Go deep.
Both our relationships with God. If we are not right, like I said, to me, it goes God, then me.
Okay.
And then others. And then again, we're also taught not to be selfish, put everybody else before yourself, to do, sacrifice for others. And that's considered this great thing. But, like when you're on that airplane and they tell you, okay, you have to put your mask on first. You have to be able to make sure you can breathe, because if you can't breathe, how can you help your fellow man? How can you help the person next to you? So we have to take care of ourselves first. So first, I think we have to reconcile to God and understand that's a fundamental part of all relationships. Because I'm a firm believer that relationships are universal.
Why do you say that?
Because the same aspects that you have, the first thing when you say the word relationship, the first thing most people are gonna think is husband, wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend,
romantic, yes.
Romantic relationships. But the same aspects that make that kind of relationship successful is the same thing that makes friendships successful, whether that be with the male or whether that be with the female, your children. It's a certain level and a certain way you're supposed to treat people. And if you can apply that across the board, then all of your relationships can be better. Sometimes husbands and wives don't get along, but they treat their best friends like gold. Right. They treat them better than they speak kindly to them. And they would never speak nasty to them, but they might speak nasty to, a significant other. So
that's kind of deep.
Understand that. I just always say it's universal, across the board.
This is how I view reconciliation and far as the aspects of relationships is that we all have to put in work. See, the thing about we have to build something to reconcile to. My probability was, and when my therapist pointed this out, he said, you're mourning people that you lose none to gain none if they're in your life. Ooh. He said, well, you're mourning. You're literally like, I don't want to lose this person. I want to lose their presence. I want to lose, but they like, well, what have them being in your life and not being in your life has accomplished? So when I look at that, if we're all working together for one cause, to better, like if my job is to make you happy and I'm in a relationship with you and your job is to make me happy and we working together and accomplishing something, we have to do it, because in reconcile it within our decisions, we have to reconcile the fact that we choose Lord in what we are. Yeah. We choose, because a lot of times we're beating people up for meeting their capacity when we are when we have not. Like, we don't choose a person we can evolve with. Yeah. We choose a person that is the best person for the point, or the where's my future? Like some people, like for me, I'm an entrepreneur. I have to have a bright woman. She be a good woman. She be a beautiful woman. She can present a lot of great things. That's fine. But this is where God has taken me. Your mind has to be there. I have to reconcile with that I can't just be with everyone. Yeah. I can't. You got a great person because I asked a person this question yesterday at work. This person going through a divorce because this person drinks. And this person's wife stopped drinking. But when she met him, she was drinking with him. They were getting drunk. So he's like, she got a problem. And he like, well, no, she got the problem because he won't stop drinking. And my thing is that you met him at his capacity. You didn't meet him at his involvement.
Right, that acceptance.
Right. So
really
everybody evolves. Yeah. Some people, like a lot of people, got to reconcile the fact that they're single, not because they're not awesome, is because they're too much for the people they're choosing or want to choose them.
We're just not accepting that person for who they are.
Yes.
I have this saying that, you can't raise a man twice. Once his mama get hold of him and do what she gonna do, that's it. So I just believe in.
Listen, inbox up with all them
in the beginning, because I can't try to change it. I have to accept you, for who you are. But honestly, we talked about reconciliation with God. Then we have to reconcile with people. But there's another P that goes with that, which is prioritize.
Okay.
You have to want to do it, and you have to make it a priority. If you want to make your relationships better, you have to commit to the process of doing it, because it's not going to happen overnight just because you want to.
That's so good, because we got to look at when we're reconciling with somebody and we establish that they add value to our lives and we add value to their lives, and we have built something that we don't want to lose. a lot of reconciliation and acceptance of it has everything to do with our approach. We approach people with respect, relevance, with reciprocity. I hope I say that word.
You got it.
You know, responsibility and relationship. Let me first respect and love you enough to hear what you have to say, because I've not traveled the road you've traveled. That was something that God really worked on me, and therapy really blessed me and helped me through. Was I wasn't accepting somebody's point of view because I didn't think somebody's life began. I thought their life began with our relationship, and their life didn't have a life prior. So when they said something to me, I'm quick to defense. Because I didn't want to respect what you're saying, because I'm like, okay, I wasn't there back in the day when you were going through whatever you went through. I'm here now. And so I would make somebody's reflection of what they had to go through, you know, like I would negate somebody's work. You know, they may have had to sell toasters to make ends meet, you know, where I didn't have to do that. I got a good job. Or somebody may have had to go through therapy every day, where I only went 3 or 4 times a week. Or, you know, I can't judge how you maintain you because I wasn't there. I don't have the right not to respect your view because you had a role before you met me. Yeah. So I have to have respect enough to listen to you, because even though I may not agree for your point, I didn't come from where you came from. And that was something that I was bad at. And I thank God for it, because I'm like, you know what? I mean, I don't see that, but I didn't live that. So I have to give you your right to approach something opposed to me shutting you down.
And you know what? That's a very good point, and a good way to self-reflect on your beliefs and how they've changed and evolved and why. You know, when I look back, I think my issue was kind of the opposite. Okay. Like I never looked at well, I won't say never, but when I came to whether or not I'm going to forgive somebody or try to reconcile or whatever, sometimes it's not even for me. It's not for what you can do for me, because I have such a heart and I have a gift of discernment. Mm-hmm. That potential we talked about, I can see a potential in someone, and I know that my forgiveness or reconciliation with them is not for me. It's what God needs for them to go to the next level, where they can reach their potential and their purpose. And that doesn't have to include me, and that's okay. But I know I can see certain instances where, you know what, I need to forgive this person. I need to reconcile this relationship with them, not for me, but so that they can go on and do the things that I see that God placed in them to do in their lives. So it's not always about us. You know, we have to think about others. That reconciliation isn't sometimes for us to get to our glory, is for them to get to theirs. And that's, if you can be selfless in that.
That's good. You know, I was, and y'all, before we started on the radio, I said, I forgot how beautiful Anita was. I haven't seen Anita in a long time, and she looked in shape. You know, like when I leave here, I'm going into 3-4 gym because I need to work out, because I'm sitting there looking like, wow, I forgot how beautiful she was. She walked up to me like, hey, I'm like, oh, like, wow. You know, I had to buff up a little bit, like, yeah, how y'all doing, you know. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That is so powerful. That's so good. You want to drinking coffee? Go and take some of your coffee. You know, I sure be in between coffees and break. That was good, because then you have to look at the relevance. Because to me, unless God makes people relevant in each other's life, I believe that, because I honestly believe that God has an ordained wife for me, and I believe she knows it, and I believe I know it, and God has the work to get us there. But what is the relevance? Because a lot of people, when they look at reconciliation, they don't look at the relevance of that person.
How is the relevance of the person right now, or the relevance of reconciling?
Not just both, but the relevance of the person in someone's life.
Okay, got it.
Because you have some people that the minute you with them, stuff start happening and you start growing. You have people who God has shown you. It's just like blessings and spiritual things, but then our way of thinking and what the world has done to us has made us forfeit our blessings. Because let me tell you, the devil can't stop God from getting anything to you, but we forfeit it. We lay it down. We say what we're not going to do. So what is the relevance? Because there are people who want to reconcile with you because they know they were better with you. They know they have more with you. They know that, so they're reconciling not for you, but for their own, because they realize that not only is the grass not green on the other side, that grass is dirt with concrete and with, so it's like, I need to come back. So I want to reconcile with you because you're relevant in my life. But when we look at the relevance, will this person make me better? Yeah. Because if you have not, we don't know. Let me make sure I say this the way Dr. Thomas said it. We don't know the power of somebody's relevance until we get past our issue with them or our issues, period. We don't know exactly what a person brings to our life and their relevance, because if God brought somebody in their life, he sees what's coming up here that we don't see. Most people are stuck here in the beginning, like, okay, let me do this, let me do that, let me do that. And we're trying to find a place to reconcile in a person, but God said, I don't want you to reconcile in a place now. I want you to move to a better place to reconcile. Yeah. Because if you reconcile in a place that broke you, then guess what? Yeah. You reconcile in a place that broke you, they're gonna keep breaking you. So reconcile here, because a lot of times God will say, this is your wife, this is your husband, but I ain't gonna bring you together until you right here. Because if I bring you together right here, what broke y'all in the first place, it's gonna break y'all now. Let me bring you here.
Oh, that's so good.
Come on, talk about it. Come on, Nina, get loose.
That's really, really good, because a lot of times when people meet you, or like for me, I have a lightness about me. I have a very powerful energy, or
yes, you do.
A very positive aura.
And your hair looks nice.
Well, thank you, and my hair look nice. So, but sometimes people are attracted to that. They want to be a part of that, or they feel like, man, she's kind of peaceful. I want that, in my life. But we have to be careful.
Come on,
because not only are people attracted to our power, they're also attracted to our problems. So if you have a person that's hurting, they might be attracted to you because they see that light, but you won't attract something that's not inside of you. So if a person has a certain kind of fear, best believe that's probably in you too. And it's so important to reconcile with yourself so you can have that healing, so you are not attracting the wrong things as well. Because people see your light, but then they also condemn that light with the same thing that's in you will be in them. And that's gonna eventually be a pull. And so you want to reconcile the issues with inside yourself by any means necessary, because you're going to find yourself in this pattern, and you're wondering why.
Okay.
And you're thinking, well, they so attracted you because of all these wonderful things, but that underlying spirit, that's there.
Wow. And listen, y'all, just a sidebar, Miss Anita said, I don't want to do radio. I don't sit be on radio. I told her, I've been telling this for years how good she is. Tell me, put in the comments, y'all, listen how good she is. Reciprocity. What does that mean to you when it comes to reconciliation?
Well, again, I think it all comes down to that energy. Obviously reciprocity is what you are putting out. Like if I'm being good to you, if I'm being kind to you, then the expectation is that person return that to you. It's not one person always giving and one person always receiving. You heard that term, you got to give a little to get a little. It should go back and forth. And so I don't want to be the only one giving. And, I'm never, giving in anything. Like a lot of times I'm helping people. I'm giving, money here and there, whatever. But somebody asked me one day what my Zelle was or Cash App. I don't know, because I'm not used to being the one to receive. I'm always the giver. You know what I mean?
You want me to tell you my Cash App is? I tell you there'll be a couple of those.
Yeah, tell me what it is. But no, so the reciprocity is just, it's a back and forth. It's a give and take. And you cannot always be in one position or the other. If somebody, and a lot of times I wonder that you see good people, and then they're alone, or that person that they're with is mistreating them, or they don't find the satisfaction in relationships, and you're wondering, like, man, that's such a good person, he's such a good dude, or she's such a good woman. Like, why is it that they can't find that person for them? Because you would expect, if you had somebody treating you well, that you would treat them back well. But again, just like everybody has the power and the potential, they got the problems. You got to deal with that.
That's interesting you say that. I believe a lot of times we find people that hurt us because of our choices. We think God is limited, even though the world said there's a limitation on what is out here. We go biblically. In Isaiah day, they say every 7 women to every man. The thing is that a lot of times we choose what we think we can get or what's safe to us, opposed to what God said. Some people just, God knows your ability and what you're going to become. And a lot of times when people look at reciprocity, you have to look at somebody like, first of all, I cannot lead if I'm not going anywhere. A lot of times when we get involved with somebody, we don't see their plans. We don't know where they're going, what God has for them. A lot of times people that God sends us are equipped to a direction for us to go. A lot of times we don't want to go in the direction. We're going to argue with God. God, I'm not going here. God, I'm not doing this. God, I don't want this. And God, like, listen, your life is bought with a price. I reconcile you to the Father for you to reconcile to others. Whoa, I reconciled you to the Father so you can reconcile with others.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we don't want to go the way God wants us to go. We're not going to accept what God says, because how can I reconcile with someone when you talk about reciprocity if they have nothing they're going? Because some people are just,
those are the takers.
Yeah, but some people are meant to be with other people, but sometimes we're not choosing people where we're going to growth. We're choosing people that, because a lot of times people get into a point where they settle. Like, this is the best woman I can find. This is the best man that's out here right now. At least, even though this man does not give me the things that I need in life that fits who God created me to be, or even though the woman that with me is not big enough to hold my anointing, she's still somebody to love me, because for a long time, I sacrificed everything I was to fit in a place to receive love, because I never received love. I had to reconcile that I got love with God. And so my thing was, I would shortchange myself, and I would de-evolve so that I wouldn't evolve into what God created me to be, so I can still say I have somebody to love. And that's where a lot of people are making the greatest mistake. They're like, I want somebody that makes me safe, opposed to push me to greatness, to evolve. I can't stay where I am, because this is what God called me to be. So I've learned through therapy, through studying, a term called radical acceptance. Okay. I've learned in reconciliation, radical acceptance, because if I don't accept that something had to happen the way it happened and God had a greater plan, then I'll beat myself up with what ifs. So I had to come to terms with that, like right now in my life now, where things are happening, God is setting up stuff. And regardless of what I'm thinking, I'm not overthinking it. It had to happen. Things are going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. God has a wife chosen for me. I am going to marry her. She is going to marry me. I am going to do the things that God has called me to do. It's going to happen. But what beats people up in reconciliation is that they always say, if I could have did this, if I would have did this. No, you had to do this. Yeah. The fire created you. The bad created you. The good created you. And God knew.
Yeah, that's good. I actually, you want to have that mutual respect, for one another. And you can be looking at somebody, like, I was in a relationship where they were really good for me, but I wasn't really good for them. Mm-hmm. And I had to come to terms with that, because I loved this person, but I wasn't in love the way that I should have been. And I didn't recognize that.
That's good.
But then I recognized that if that person was going to be the best that God intended for them to be, they needed someone who can love them to that degree,
Right.
to help them to be the best that they can be and to get them where they needed to be. And I was in the way. And that was very selfish.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep. You
that was
deep.
extremely
wow,
selfish. So I had to say, you know what? Let me step off, because this person wings are clipped, by me being in their life, because I'm not going to do the things that I need to do, and I'm not going to say the things I need to say. I'm not going to be the support that I need to be if I can't love this person the way they want to be loved and the way that they need to be loved. And so sometimes, again, for me, you can reconcile a person back to themselves.
Whoa. Oh, you got to go a little deeper on that one. You just bust my head and a lot of people. You can reconcile people back to themselves. You just bust. You just bust my head with that. Go on a little bit. Talk about that. Wow.
I mean, reconciling them back to themselves is because when you look at love, to me, the greatest thing about love is you wanting that person to be the best they can be. That's real love.
That's good.
You helping them in every way that you can to be the best that they can be. And if you aren't really in love with a person, you can't affect them in that way for them to be the best that they can be. And sometimes it's sad. Sometimes it hurts, but I had to, just like I said, I had to personally come to terms with the fact that, I really love this person. I care about their well-being. I care about their life. I care about their success, but I don't have that deep, meaningful connection with that person.
You ever had to reconcile your love for somebody where you had love for somebody, but you didn't want to admit it, and you had to reconcile that love? Like, you just, I know I love this person, but maybe this person don't fit what I want, or they're not what I think they should be. And but I love this person. I know I'm in love with them, but I have to reconcile the feelings.
But it's not your ideal. Yeah.
What's that process like?
Well, because when we talk about love, sometimes we think about, this fairy tale way that everything is going to happen. It's good.
Go ahead.
we think about how we perceive that, even especially for women. Sometimes we little girls, we watching the princess movies, and we see the knight in shining armor coming, and we get this real fairy tale ideal about how relationships and love is supposed to be. And we think, okay, I want this, we just have this long checklist, about everything we want. And it could be everything you want, but nothing you need.
Ooh.
And so I stopped trying to really figure that out. More and more, I'm just saying, Lord God, let your will be done. Because you can think farther and greater. You know my heart, you know what I want, you know my needs, you know my desires. Now, you take the wheel. Let Jesus take the wheel. Because we can sometimes talk ourselves out of something. Well, I don't want nobody to do this, and I want to be like this and look like this and 6 feet tall and basketball body, or just all these different things.
Built like me.
Built like you. We can have these false perceptions of what love is, and it's not realistic. You can love somebody, you can have that connection with somebody, but God has given you what you want 1,000 times over. That they talk about a story. I'm a boater. Okay. About that person being out there on that boat and praying to God, like, Lord, help me get out of here, and then somebody will come along and say, hey, you need some help, and you're like, no, I'm okay, and they go, and then you steady praying, Lord, help me, and then you got a swimmer or somebody come up and you say, can I help you? And you're like, no, I got it, and that person swims away. And that can happen time and time again. And then you'll be sitting on that boat going, Lord God, but why did you forsake me? You didn't help me. You got me out here stranded and whatever. Wow. And he like, man, I sent you
all this help.
I sent you a swimmer. I sent you, this what you need. But because it didn't look the way that you thought it was going to come,
that's powerful.
You turn it away.
Which takes me to the next point of reconciliation. Because, I got so many points I've studied. I've got them down. is the responsibility, my responsibility in the reconciliation. One of the things that my therapist used to always tell me that you will never reconcile somebody if you always include their part in the reconciliation. You know,
break that down.
Huh?
Break that down.
That's good. Well, I need to. That's a good one. I'll say that again. You will never reconcile with a person if you constantly include their part in the reconciliation. Because the thing is, every time we say what somebody didn't do or what they should do, then it takes onus off of what we should do to better us. Because a lot of times I appreciate presentation because for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, I've been isolated, quiet. Like, you know, the woman of God prophesying, she was absolutely right. Where God has prepared me for my next, but at the same time, the work of trusting Him, the work of being committed, the work of removing the things that I have to remove that's detrimental to somebody I'm being a partner with, because there was aspects of me that would have been detrimental to any woman that God has given me. And so when you say, okay, God, this is the person you're supposed to be with, and it's like, okay, then if you said this is her, then get me ready for her so that we will go to the next level and do what needs to be done. But a lot of that had to do with me looking at a person like they owe me something for something I've been through. You know, like that what I've been through doesn't give me a right to be nasty or have a character flaw because I've been through stuff, and no one owes me nothing. Every relationship that I've ever been in, I always look for love, but I look for love for the wrong reasons, not because I want love to grow with love, but because love I never had. So I created boundaries and standards and rules according to what I've been through and study what I've been, because then a lot of times I realized the problems I've had with people, there was problems I've never created with people.
So that's almost like punishing them with your pain.
Yes. So I had to take responsibility. So a lot of times if I take responsibility for half of the bad meal I bought, and the other person takes responsibility for the other half of the meal they bought, then we have accepted that, radical acceptance. I accept what I've done. You know, now let me do something different. But if somebody says to me, you accept what you've done, but I don't accept what I've done because you did it, then what happens is it's always an open account. But when we talk about radical acceptance, it's like, I know what I've done wrong. And I know what I needed to do. Hey, Franklin, good blessings, doctor. I know what I did wrong.
Yeah.
And that is the thing about responsibility. People think somebody else's killing is their responsibility.
Man, let me tell you. One time when I realized that I was doing that. So I'm in church and I got my little notepad and I'm taking notes, and everything the pastor is saying, I'm receiving it for somebody else instead of myself. So I'm going, oh yeah, God, he needs to hear that. He needs to hear that. Let me take that note because pastor said this. And it was like, oh yeah, he needs to know that. Oh yeah, that's a good one. And after the whole service, everything that the pastor said, I'm receiving it for somebody else. And the spirit hit me like a ton of bricks. It said, no, this was for you. You know, and I'm like, wait, me? It can't be me. It's got to be this other person, you know, because I wasn't at the point where I was ready to take responsibility for my own stuff.
Ooh.
And so, you know, sitting in that church service that day, God changed my mindset. He changed, my life changed that day because I realized I'm not even going to go to church. You can't hear the word for somebody else. It's got to be for you. And if God wants that person to hear that word, He going to have that person in that pew. Or He going to have that person in that situation, or somebody else is going to come to that person and give them the message God wants for them.
So did you or do people sometimes have to reconcile to themselves what they really are?
Always.
Because do some people think
that's the first?
I ain't no preacher, but you are called to be a preacher. Or I ain't no entrepreneur, but you called to be an entrepreneur. Do people have to reconcile with themselves? Have you ever had to reconcile with yourself that, okay, God, I don't want that life, but God, like, you belong in that life?
All the time. I'm notoriously known as Jonah. Okay. I'm going, I just live my life running from the gifts and talents and messages and everything that God has given to me. God had to force me
that's good.
into the belly of the whale before I'm going to get it. So I'm working on that. I'm working on not being Jonah. I'm working on just saying, okay, God, I don't know why this is. Or this is what you want me to do. Okay, I'll do it without question. But I definitely ran for a long time from what I know God wanted me to do or what I knew was right. And it just takes practice. It's just like your muscles. You got to stretch your spiritual muscles just like you do your physical.
Why do you think people run? Why do you think people run from stuff? Because a lot of times I ran for myself. I ran for my calling. I ran from a lot of things because
I think one, maybe fear. Two, not seeing yourself in God's eyes, not seeing yourself as who God has put you out here to be. I think a lot of times, even in growing up, parents mean well, but sometimes, they can be your toughest critics and they can put you down in a way that nobody else can. And you might be raised to think you're not nothing and that you're not supposed to be nothing or you're not going to have nothing. Or it can be, hurt. And sometimes the more you're hurt, and depending on what age you are when that happens, it's going to affect you in different ways. And so some people don't even think they deserve to have anything good.
Wow.
So, it's a lot of reasons. I know somebody who deathly afraid of success. Truly. He was told all his life, he's not going to be nothing. He's told all his life, what you want to do that for? You ain't, what? I'm not this and you're not going to be that either. And a lot of people are beat down. And and unfortunately, in our society, especially for African Americans, we are looked at as less than. And so it's hard if you don't see yourself or representation of what you look like in some of the places and spaces you want to go. That can also be a hindrance.
And then a lot of times what hinders reconciliation, because people want to see certain signs in that reconciliation process. Like they want to see the deep mutual healing, because the object of reconciliation is deep mutual healing. And they're looking for both people to grow and change. And I think that's where a lot of people miss that, because some people feel like I'm right no matter what. So I want to grow with you, but I don't want to change. And that's where a lot of people say, this is who I am. Like I met somebody not too long ago, a very great woman of God, really nice person, but very rude and nasty, and felt like this person could say whatever they wanted to say to people. But then you wonder why nobody wants to deal with you. Yeah. And it's not that people got soft feelings or they weak. It's just that why would people want to be with somebody disrespectful? Or somebody that wants to put people down and make themselves feel better and feel like they got to accept that. So a lot of times people don't want to change to grow. They want to reconcile, but they want to still remain the same in it. And life is about evolving. We never remain the same. Our life is never going to be the way we want it to be, because it was bought by a price, and Satan is going to attack us because of life. But a lot of times people don't want to change. People don't want to shift their expectations. Like, I expect you to do this the way I've been doing it, but the consequence in that is your results say, if I keep doing that the way you've been doing it, you keep doing what you've been doing, it gets us right here back to the same spot. It's like somebody smoking and the doctor say, listen, if you don't stop smoking, then your cigarettes, then you're going to get cancer. But then you say, I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes, stop smoking cigars, or I'm going to stop smoking cigars, stop vaporing. I'm going to do something, even though the same pattern has got me into a place of sick. And then another thing is that people don't know how to agree to disagree without being disagreeably angry. That's where people mess up. Like when I'm angry at you, I ain't gonna say the word, you got to say. yeah, y'all know the word. Y'all can put the word in there. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. And the reason why is because people don't want the inner solution.
See, that's the thing about reconciliation.
Ooh, that's good.
When you hit on, obviously, that was a lot of good points. That last part that you talked about the anger. See, when you reconcile, Or if you, let's say you cannot reconcile with somebody, you know, went through all the steps, you've tried, you've talked to that person, you've had other people talk to them. Maybe you talk to your minister, your pastor, and they just will not be moved because this is who I am. They don't want to change. You can let them go, but you don't do that in anger.
Right.
You just, all
That's
you are
good.
saying is, I'm waiting for God to do the work in them, for God to change them to who they need to be. And you bless them in that. You release them in blessings. You just say, you know what? I pray that one day you will find the happiness, joy, and peace that you're looking for. And one day you may change, or one day you may come to me, you may see yourself, and you may say, you know what? I was wrong. Let me go apologize.
Right.
And sometimes we don't get it when we want it, but that doesn't mean that when they go, when you remove yourself from, when you get to the point where you say, okay, I can no longer be in relationship with this person because they have done me wrong, you let them go, but don't ever do that in anger.
And then you got to remember the greatest thing about reconciliation is your bounce back ability, because one of the things is, can I handle your point of view even if I don't like it? Because one of the things that happens, unfortunately, we don't look for the inner solution in ourselves, because once we are offended, then we forget. One of the things that America has made good is the offense of our people, so that we will react in a way that's detrimental to our people. Because you got to remember something. If what God blesses us with offends us and we mishandle our blessing, then that's not on God to bless us back with something.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people can't handle that because they don't have the inner peace, inner resolution. Because I have to respect you had a different way of looking at it, and you had a different journey too. Because one of the things that I had to learn is, even though you're at the altar with me together to marry me, your journey to this altar was different from mine. I met you at the altar. I'm taking you from the altar to a life that we both build. But there was a life before the altar. And I have to respect your journey. You know, like I came to the studio today a different way than you came, but we still on the radio together. Right. Doesn't mean your way was insignificant and I can't take it lightly because you came a different way where I came a different way. And that is because a lot of times people don't get together and create is because they don't handle confrontation well. Yeah. If you can't handle confrontation well, then you don't have an inner solution. And what happens is you fight what God said do. This is how God is. God is like, listen, I'm not going to let you move, or I'm not going to let them move until you decide to get it right. I'm going to keep y'all right here. And you get tired of bumping your head and say, okay, God, I'm going this way. God, like, okay, I'll open the door. Because we can't outweigh God. God ain't in time. We can't outweigh God. And we're not going to change his mind when he says something. But that's where a lot of things, because we have to shift our expectations to a place where it includes another person's perspective.
Yeah. You know what? I want to go back to what you had said previously when you were talking about, you know, the person saying, well, this is who I am. I feel like that's one of the most devastating hindrances to reconciliation.
Hey, Gigi.
Hey, I hope you feel better. Oh, Gigi.
Yes.
I was hoping to meet you today. But so it's like you carrying this umbrella and you saying this is me. So everything under this umbrella you're using as an excuse. How you treating people? Well, I told you this is how I am. I told you this is what it is. And it doesn't help you to change. I think it's important to recognize that you are not to change the other person, but you allow that person to change for themselves. And like with me in relationships, the very first thing I do before I try to charge anything against anybody else is I look in the mirror and I have to show myself me. I start with me. What did I say? What did I do to where that communication or whatever broke down?
That's good.
Is there anything I do not go back looking at every single thing this person did and said to me. I'm only concerned about how I behaved, how my reaction was, what I said and what I did and what I can change and make better.
Yes.
And I start there. And most of the times I don't even get to you know, that what they did, because I feel like we have to be concerned with our part and let them be concerned with their part.
And you know what? Another thing is that when people say this is just the way I am, that's not true. Because you got to remember, the Bible said we're new creatures when you accept Jesus Christ. A lot of times, you're who your experiences.
That's why we're born again.
Right. We're born again.
So you don't have to be stuck.
Your personality and character traits and habituality is created by what you've been through. You know, me and my co-host, we disagreed on a point where she talked about love languages. Well, I said that everybody speaks a different love language with somebody. That I can't create something from my past in my new. Like everything is brand new when I meet somebody and we start from there. Because when we look at the reconciliation relationship, you know, when we look at, we have to share our feelings and listen to how the other person feels. But here as it is, we must focus on the present and build up each other's trust. Because a person doesn't trust me because I did something to them to physically not make them trust me. It's because they don't trust me because of the people they trusted before that hurt them. That's the thing I've always tell people is you can't talk to me about an experience that you never had with me, because we may have never done that. I had a lady tell me years ago, I was on a date, I ain't gonna say her name, Lisa, tell me that to be a pastor, you're very elusive. And you won't answer any of my questions. I'm like, I can't answer questions I didn't do with you. Because you're asking me a question on a perspective of somebody else's action where you had a lack. So you had to rob Peter to pay Paul. Whereas we would have had, we may have had an abundance because we had a plan. Because most people sit down with people with a perspective and not a plan. They sit down and say, I want you to be in my life. And you say, well, where we going? Well, we're going to work at something. Or we're going to do something. Or we're going to find out a way. No. With me, this is what God has given me. This is what I got. This is where I'm going. Do you want to be a part of it? Simple. We are practicing potential. We're debating potential. And we're reconciling with potential. If that person treated you bad, you can reconcile with no access. Hey, I forgive you. We good, but you still can't get no access with me.
Right.
If you know a person, but continue to disagree, we still disagree with
right.
that.
Gigi is like, no, I think I agree with Gigi.
Because here it is. The reason why a lot of things don't work is because we're trying to shadow something new with something old. We don't want to pull off what happens, because everything from intimacy to money management to spirituality to living to combining families, everything is a new thing with a new person, and nothing that I've been through can be repeated.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to the one word you used in that, trust. So the way that I operate is, and I know everybody's different. So when I'm gonna tell you how I operate, then I want to find out, which I think I know the answer. I want you to answer the same question. So when I meet a person, I trust them from go. I trust you until you show me I cannot trust you. So in that sense, I am taking, I'm not holding the past against anybody. Like, you get a clean slate from the beginning. I'm that teacher that when you come to class, you got the A. And the only way you're not gonna get the A is if you don't keep the A. So how do you view trust? Do you view trust as, with you, does it have to be earned and then you build up to that point, or is it given straight off the top?
Trust for me, you have a clean slate. Trust for me is in what you do and action. Love and trust for me is action.
So they have to show you first,
right?
And then you develop.
Right, and I'm gonna tell you why that is. Because if I'm choosing a woman, I'm choosing a woman on her intelligence. Beauty is a bonus for me, but her intelligence, because there are some people who just have a mind that's just brilliant. They are somebody you can build with, because there are people that's just unlucky and make bad decisions. It doesn't mean that they're negative or they're deceitful in their actions. They just don't know how to manage money. They just don't know how to treat you. So they make decision making. So their capability is not up to your level. So when you can say, well, I don't trust that person because of the stuff they do. Okay, they're not able to do that. So for me, when I pick somebody, when it comes to trust, I trust them. But more importantly, I trust them because of who God says they are in the beginning. I don't trust them just off of looks, because people can be lying. But if God says this the person, and God says that person is good, then I have to know, okay, now I'm not looking at, can I trust this person? I'm looking at, can I grow with this person and where we're going? Because I've learned that I trust people to be them, but I leave room for them to evolve. Can I evolve? Is this person steady growing? Is this person great? So trust for me, because anybody can lie. You can be great physical, anything. Those are things that's just, to me, is just, they're important, but they're with the normal fallacy of a relationship. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times trust is rooted in somebody's capability of performing trustworthy issues and to be able to grow with them. Because again, I can't trust somebody with money who's bad with money. Don't mean that they're deceitful, but if you go buy a $500 pair of shoes and we need our lights paid, then it ain't that I can't trust you, or trust somebody without a plan. Somebody without a plan. Somebody would okay with me spending $700 for a meal.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to really take your time to really get to know people.
But here's the thing. Let me just say this last point. When it comes to what Gigi was saying about love languages, okay, there is one of the greatest, and I was reading this from a therapist in Germany, said one of the greatest coffins, nails you put in coffins, a relationship, is comparing the old to the new. Wanting somebody to be what somebody was, because there was a person who in that articles didn't want to be with her husband because her husband was a good provider. He loved her. He was faithful. He did right by the kids, but he was terrible in bed. He was terrible intimately. Mm-hmm. And the thing was, the guy that she was with prior was better. So she would try to make him do stuff that this guy used to do, and it didn't work out, to the point she ended up going back to the guy, ruining her life and her kid's life and everywhere. So my thing is, if I truly start from ground zero with somebody, then my language of loving them, intimacy, growing, business, life, combining, has to be branded with that person.
I think why you and Gigi disagree is because it's the semantics. Because fundamentally, what Gigi is saying, your love language is specific to you. When you go, they have the tests and stuff and quizzes. You go and answer these questions, and it gives you a printout of what your love language is. It doesn't ask you anything about the other person. You're only answering questions about yourself. Your love language is true to you. It's true to who you are, regardless of who you're with. And that doesn't mean two things can be true at the same time.
I can see her smiling right now.
Things. Gigi, I got your back. I'm here for you. But two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that your love language is specific, like my love language is specific to who I am, how I like to be treated, what makes me feel good. But that doesn't mean that if I meet a different person, that our chemistry may create some other dynamics.
Okay.
So I get what you're saying.
I agree.
Once you put two things together, in the test tube or whatever, you shake it up and you're gonna get something different. You get another.
She loving that. See, I can see it right now at home. Exactly. No, exactly. You lucky I got my bells, because I'll bonk you right now, Gigi. No, I agree. I agree to a certain point. It doesn't have
to be one or the other.
I agree. I just, for me, is I want to find everything new in that new person, opposed to any remnants of what I used to be. Because, there are difference. There's a difference. Some people do things differently. Like
you might have a person that when you with them, let's say you're a more serious person, and you meet a person, and for whatever reason, this person brings out this fun side in you. They're challenging you. They got you doing things you've never done before. That's okay. You know what I mean? So it's like you want that individuality. You want that a person to affect you in a way that nobody ever did before. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're not the same Corey, because this person is bringing out. We are multidimensional. We have all types of layers, and it's just a matter of peeling back the onion. And yeah, one person might get to only a certain kind of layer and only affect you in certain areas in certain ways. But that's why I try not to define any of that. I just try to remain open, and I try to just be free, when I meet a person, and just let things naturally unfold, like get out of my own way. Because again, I'm notorious for thinking too much. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we just have to step back and just go with the flow, just have fun, just stop trying to define and perfectly put everything in this little box, because we might miss out on incredible experiences by doing that with incredible people.
That's good you said that, because one of the parts of and I was reading this guy from Cambridge University, he has a theory on acknowledging anger and resentment to reconcile without taking on it, reliving the feelings of anger and resentment. Like, how do you express to somebody when you're trying to reconcile with somebody that may have hurt you, to explain and acknowledge that anger and resentment without feeling it over again?
It's called healing.
Yeah. And then how do a person receive it without making excuses or without triggering it by saying something crazy?
See,
that's good.
When you let those feel, this is how you know if you over it or not.
Okay.
If you dealing with a person that did something to you, hurt you, or did you some type of wrong, and you feel still angry and frustrated and upset, that means you're not over it. And that is a direct indication, using your own emotions as a thermometer. So if you still like, I'm that's still making me just as angry today as I was the other, then you're not over it. You haven't healed that space, because once you heal it, you won't be angry anymore. You won't be frustrated anymore.
That's powerful in that, because one of the things that means a lot to me, and this has to be a great factor in relationships, especially reconciliation, is the bounce back. Because one of the things people think that everything's going to be great every day. Things can be great, but the devil attacks us. Well, we're going to have to face things every day. We're going to have to face attacks. And a lot of times I have to do, because I don't mind disagreeing with somebody. I don't mind having a heated disagreement with somebody, as long as we can come back and reconcile and sit down and talk and be okay with that. Because one thing that hurts a lot of people is people say, well, you know what? You offended me. Okay, but I don't want to talk about that offense. I want to keep living my life and leave. If you talk about it and get it out, then it sets both of you guys free. Because one of the things I look at when he talks about the steps, we get into it, and you study the steps of reconciliation, is to identify the source of the conflict. Because we cannot reconcile if we won't identify the source of the income. Because if our source of income, the source of conflict is we are not making enough money for the bills we had, I am not mad at you and you are not mad at me. We're just frustrated on our financial situation being bad. Or sometimes, we may shut down. Our conflict is that we don't love. The source of it is, how do we better our conversation? Now, sometimes you have people who don't want to change. That's the source of the conflict. Life is moving us here to deep water, but you are content with shallow water, and you have the rope tied to the shore where you only gonna go so far.
Yeah.
While the other person God is calling them out to the deep.
Yeah.
But it's like, so identify it, because see,
the sources also can be the person.
Especially if a person don't want to admit they're wrong. How can you identify this?
So the first, that's good. So
Come on.
The first step for me is this really kind of the same thing. You just took it deeper. When I kind of was thinking about this topic of reconciliation, we have to be able to tell you, okay, how do you get to reconciliation? Yes, we know we need to reconcile, but how do we do that? The first step is identifying the source, as Corey said. And for me, that's going to the source, the person. If you have and now what he took it deeper because he drilled down to the issues. But if you know that you have done wrong to someone, if you feel someone has done wrong to you, go to the person. As long as they are alive, it will always be your responsibility to see that person face to face or talk to that person on the phone to say, I apologize. I did you wrong. And will you forgive me? And you try to do that while that person is still alive. And as long as that person is still alive and you've done something wrong with them or to them, that's your duty to ask them for that forgiveness. And then if they hopefully will say, I forgive you, whether they decide to keep you in relation or not, then you say, okay, well, what if you do that and they don't accept it? To your point, they don't accept it. Then what? What did the Bible say you do next?
You bring someone else.
That's right.
But
you go get 2 or 3 and take them with you so you have witnesses that you tried to reconcile.
See, one of the things that I've learned as a man of God, as a person who's a big advocate for therapists, you've seen my show, I've had Associated Black Therapists, is everything is not a spiritual issue. Some things are mental fundamentals that we have to learn, because one of the things with radical acceptance is that your results are not going to lie to you. Person don't want to look at a conflict resolution and get to the source of the conflict. They won't look at the results, because some people won't admit they broke. Some people won't admit they broken. Some people don't want to admit that they're their own worst enemy. Some people don't want to admit that they were wrong. So the thing is one of my approaches is I come with a very objective mind, feel and based on radical acceptance. I come with a base like, okay, that happened. That couldn't have happened no other way than it happened. Now what? What are you going to do? Whereas I look at it in the sense of, okay, what is your result saying? You saying that you're going to do it this way and you want to do it this way. Has it gotten you what you said you wanted or you will have? One of the things that people won't accept God's word because they don't keep their word to themselves.
Yeah. I'm
not going to keep my own word. I say that I'm going to start working out, but the day come and I don't work out, but then at the same time I want God to keep his word. Or God, I'm going to come and serve you and I'm going to do what you say do, but then I want to keep it. Or a lot of times God will bless us with what he got for us, but we say, God, I don't want to accept that. I'm not going to accept that, but God bless me. Was a God like, wait a minute, I'm giving you my word. Here it is. Because one of the things that the hardest things to do in conflict resolution, I know you're going to have a lot on this one when I make this point, is people don't know how to look beyond the incident. Mm-hmm. Do I love you enough to see who you are outside of what pissed me off about you or what hurt me about you? And do I love you enough to see the best in you? Because some people have been hurt so bad that people are not people no more, they're incidents.
Sometimes, I do have a lot to say about this.
Come on.
Because this is really a dynamic point. Because on one hand, hit
we
dogs
deep
holler.
Together. See that?
We deep. Let me say that again. On one hand, hit dogs holler. Sometimes when a person just nailed you to the wall on exactly who you are, that's when you are the most angry. That's when you're the most upset because they right. And it hurts. You know, sometimes they're dead wrong, and you feel like, oh, you don't even know me. You know, I thought we were, at this place in our relationship, but you accuse me of that, and that's completely not who I am. But at the end of the day, to me, there's a role in reconciliation for the peacemakers.
Ooh, come on, do
because sometimes you struggle with yourself or others, and you just get to a point where we're not going to agree, and we can't even agree to disagree. We just disagreeing at this point. So then you bring in a peacemaker, and of course, let me stop right here and say, first of all, I believe strongly in mental health therapy. No matter my spirituality, I believe that I'm a spiritual and an emotional person first.
Okay.
But I'm also physical. I believe it's all tied. I don't think it's anything separate about it. I just think culturally, Blacks in particular were taught to take everything to God, and we don't share what happened in our house with other people.
Right.
We didn't talk about issues. So the concept and the idea of a therapist, and we're very sensitive to mental health issues because honestly, historically, it was labeled you were crazy, or they put you in an institution, or they put you in some padded room. And so you just didn't do that. You didn't talk about it. You held everything in. So there's a place for communication and therapy. So your peacemaker might be your therapist. Your peacemaker might just be somebody who's been through that situation before and knows how to help you guys work through what the issues are. It could be your pastor. But the important thing is that you understand when you're at an impasse, I love you, you love me, and we can't get past this point. Let's get somebody in here who is.
And that's the thing, because most people in reconciliation forget why you fell in love with a person. They identify the person by their problems. They identify the person by the beef that they're experiencing. They identify that person. And they don't see the amazingness in a person. And one of the things, even though sometimes I've been hard-headed, I never will not see what God made somebody. Some people are amazing, even it just, you can't get away from that. And so, but I have to stop looking at people as incidents. And I have to, again, that's why he said, don't let the sun go down, or don't go to sleep when you're mad, or, you have to solve that, because you want to wake up the same issues, because we have been embedded so deep into problems with one another that that's all we see. Yeah. And then we don't see anything good, because that same person has your answer prayer in their belly. But it's like, I can't get to that point because I see this person as an incident, and God, like, listen, you're having a conflict with what I got because you don't get past that incident.
Look what Gigi said. Gigi says, 1 Peter 4:8 in the New International Version. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Look at that word, over. And she says love should allow you to forget the incident.
Because what God brought together, no man can put under. And that means the people that he brought together can't put it under.
That's hard for me, though. I don't know. I can forgive you, but I don't know if I ever forget. Or in some situations, at least, I really truly feel like I've forgiven that person, but I won't ever forget who you showed me to be. And that's just me being honest. So maybe if that is the case, then God gonna have to work with me a little bit more.
And a lot of people believe that. A lot of people feel that way, and that's why a lot of people look at it, because one of the things that God does is he's not gonna change his mind. He said something, and it's gonna happen. It could happen later or that, but people do, they feel that way but again, we have to understand, well, we don't forgive, God don't forgive, and then we have to put ourselves in the mind frame of God, of Christ. Is I cannot view you on your was, because because if I do that, then you're not a person anymore. You're an incident, and everything. My conversation is an incident. One of the main things I told my brother-in-law one day. My brother-in-law wanted some money to get a drink. He said, "Man, I'll wash your car." And I'm like, "No, I'll give you this money." Now, if you want to wash my car, just to wash my car, and then to make money for you to make money, fine. But if you actually doing it to make money for a drink, here. And the reason why is because I didn't want to help you and take away your dignity. And a lot of times we have belittled people down to their situation or the incident. And the devil wants you to do that, because the more you see the incident, the less you see the growth. Because you got to think about something. Two powerful people coming together in God, creating something, will be a powerhouse. And the devil knows that. But if the devil can keep you intertwined in the incident, then there is nothing being birthed. There was nothing being created. Remember, demons got faith. They had Jesus going to the pigs. But faith without works is dead. So the devil is listen, if I can keep you in a conflict in the incident, then you ain't working together with that person to create nothing. Now y'all don't have anything. Where it could be a powerhouse. People are not incidents.
Let me stop right here. Because I want to add in a point of why people can find themselves caught in the incident, caught without being able to reconcile, caught without being able to move forward. One of the reasons that I discovered again, I like to try to use my personal situation. I don't mind sharing different stuff. I went through a situation on a job where we got new leadership that had come in, and my manager in particular, we had an incident where I felt like they were, being a little racist or, showing some favoritism at the very least to certain individuals. And so I'm the type of person that's going to speak up. And I spoke up and I spoke on it. And I said, I feel like the environment is creating an us versus them kind of situation. And we need to do some team building. We need to reconcile this before it starts. Now that's a whole nother aspect. It's some things that you can reconcile before it's even an issue. But they chose not to do that. And so I came under attack. And I was under attack from this woman, and it got really bad. I won't, we don't even have time for me to really go into all what happened, but it got really bad to the point where I'm having to pray on my way to work every day. I'm going around putting blessing oil on all the doors and the desk. It had got really bad. I want to fight her. That's how bad it got. I really want to fight her. So all the time, all while this is happening for almost a year, I'm talking about it. I'm praying about her. And one day she was in her office and she was going through whatever, and she was crying in her office, and I could hear it. Okay. And God told me to go to her.
And
to offer comfort.
Ooh, that's good.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And he was, again, I'm Jonah, and I'm telling him I'm not going in there. I'm not doing that. But eventually I did, and I got up to go to her. And just as I did, she was coming out of her office. And when she saw me, she just fell on me and wept and just began to cry and just uncontrollably. Whatever, what she was going through is irrelevant. But I embraced her. And the minute I embraced her, I said, oh God, this is the moment. This is my release. And I knew it. Because for the first time, I began to pray for her instead of about her. So for an entire year, I was praying about her.
Wow, that's good.
And so once I realized my plight as a human being, as a woman of God, as just a decent person, was not, when I saw her in her wrong, not to pray about her, but to pray for her. And sometimes that's where we miss the mark. And so I got that reconciliation that day in that situation.
Wow.
Okay. So that's one way we can miss our blessing by, missing the reconciliation. That's one way that you can do it.
Now, here's the thing. One of the therapists that I was studying yesterday for the show talked about the ability to humble yourself enough to be able to request solutions for the both of you guys. Like I cannot, even though I may be the leader, I may be the man, I may be somebody, I cannot bring us to a solution that we both agree on and we both support, and ask that other person for a solution. How hard is that? Especially if people have been by themselves, been alone, or even spiritual or intelligent. How hard is it for somebody to say, okay, you know what, help me find a solution, or give us a solution that will be better for both of us?
Well, you said it. The word is humility. it's hard to humble yourself. But even though the Bible says until you humble yourself and turn from your wicked ways, then will I heal your land. So the humility has to come first. But it's hard. And I'll tell you, for me, it's harder for me to forgive somebody, or I know it will probably take me longer to reconcile if I don't get an apology. That's very important to me, for somebody to say,
Ooh.
I apologize. And generally, when anybody apologizes to me, I offer forgiveness. But what do you do when nobody ever comes back and says, I'm sorry? They did this to you.
Apologies
They
not
didn't
important
humble
to me
themselves.
if they don't change their behavior.
I can get there without you apologizing. But again, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to the person.
Because
And if you
apologies
do
and
me
change
wrong,
actions, right?
but you first have to humble yourself
Okay.
to be able to apologize.
Okay.
And the Bible says, then can I,
Right.
change that situation. Then can I bless you or but if you don't ever apologize to somebody, you're really taking a lot away from them. I saw years ago, I saw there was a men's ministry, and they had this program where they invited women who were raped, molested.
Ooh, what did
hurt,
Gigi write?
Been cheated on. Pride hinders peace. Gigi said pride hinders peace. But they were cheated on. So you know what these men did in this ministry? They went to each of those women as if that man that raped you, he never apologized to you. And that he began to apologize to her as if he was the person that did that to her. These men just lined these women up, and they were expressing what their hurts was and what their pain was and what happened to them. And they were offering the apology. They were offering the hugs. They were offering the embrace.
Wow.
And these women were breaking down. They were crying. They began to release the hurt and the pain that happened. Wow. That didn't happen until somebody apologized. Even though it wasn't the specific person that did it to them, just the fact that that man stood before them and I'm sorry. It's powerful.
Wow.
That and there's a reason why that's in the Bible. God is very specific. There's a reason why he says go to one another, because there's power in that.
It's power in
it's
that.
In the humility.
Right. Go and confess.
Mm-hmm.
The prayers of the righteous avail much. But before that, it said confess to one another. So you can identify that so you don't do it again.
Yeah, people need that. If you know you've done somebody wrong, just like you don't have to be in fellowship to say I forgive you, you don't have to be in fellowship to say I apologize either. You can apologize to the person and still not be in fellowship with them, but I'm doing this because I'm taking responsibility for myself. And too many times people don't take responsibility for their actions.
That's good. It comes to that point whereas my last point on this show is it talks about the greatest part of reconciliation is to be faithful to the agreement that you two make. See, a lot of times, one of the biggest things that hinders, I think, the resolution of reconciliation is the fact that we agree on something, but somebody else go a different way. That, okay, we agreed to do something this way so that it benefit both of us. We both support it, but now I want to go a different direction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or we're two people trying to come together with different agendas and study okay, because one of the things that I've learned when I was reading this article about that agreement is a lot of times you have two powerful perspectives and two powerful directions to go into, but only one is feasible for the moment. I may have a big business that I'm planning down the road, mm-hmm. and you have a cleaners. Mm-hmm. And right now we can take the money I got for that and the money you have put together and get this cleaners going and be super successful in the cleaners. Well, we can take the money that we made from the cleaners now to fund what we have. Most people don't do that. Mm-hmm. They look at it like, okay, my stuff is just as important as yours. And so I'm going to do it the way it is and study togetherness or agree on the agreement. Like what is best for both of us opposed to what is best for me. And a lot of times people are not in agreement with the agreement. Like, okay, you said you were going to love me this way.
Yeah.
You said that you were going to treat me this way. You said, like, I will never tell somebody that if somebody said to me, if somebody walked up to me, and let me give you this perspective, you know, I want you to take care of me, you know, as my husband, and because this was a discussion at work. We'll say, what if a woman come to you and say, you know, I want you to take care of me as my husband, and I'm like, I don't have a problem with that, but you have to help me get into a position to do that. We can have what you want. Well, you don't have to work. You don't have to do. You know, there's a position, but you have to help me with that. Many people don't understand that helping somebody else is end up helping yourself, because what is more feasible now? But a lot of people will agree to disagree, but use it as a weapon against somebody they disagree with, opposed to agree to disagree because you have a right to your opposed.
You talking now.
Right. You have a right to your instead disagree, because again, what is feasible? What is your results saying? Somebody might say, man, you know what, Corey, you got so many things going on in your life. Fine, I do. You know, and I need, if you're gonna marry me, I need your help. And they say, well, what about mine? Okay, let's see. I put all this on hold and working with you on yours if yours is easier to reach now.
See, that's the third component of what I had in my notes.
Come on.
Commitment.
Come on. Commit, but are you committed to the agreement?
That's my point. You got to be committed. You know, you got to be committed to the agreement. I agree with that. You know, you got to be committed to you wanting to reconcile. You know, you have to be who you are. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Right. Because everybody is not going to, we have to understand in reconciliation, we can't always have our way in that reconciliation. Sometimes we have to take a different route to get to where we want to get to. Reconciliation doesn't mean control. We can't control everything. Sometimes we have to say, okay, what's a better way to get a person to where they want to get to? You know, when I look at the story of Vera Wayne, Vera Wayne, you know, her husband's a successful businessman. Vera Wayne was being taken care of because, you know, he was doing what he's supposed to do. She was basically like, you know, I'm bored, but I want to get into my own business. And his husband gave her what I think was like so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, yeah. And now Vera Wayne is worth billions. You know what I mean? But helping him.
I think I have on some Vera Wayne jeans right now.
You look great in them. I don't like the shoe though, because you're taller than me. You got to, you know, put some flats on.
I'm gonna wear my heels.
Yeah, you got to put the flats on. But the thing is that when we reconcile with somebody, we have to look at what's best for both of the people. Can I reach my goal in that person, helping that person? If we're a couple, I don't want anybody to lose their identity in reconciliation with me. I want you to be who God called you to be. My question is, can helping me get you to where you want to be at as fast as what not helping me?
Who is the reconciliation for?
For both.
Is the reconciliation, if I'm going to reconcile with somebody, who's that helping? Is it helping me or is that helping them?
It's helping both of us, because when you look at what could happen, you know, what could happen, you know, like I met an amazing woman. I still think this woman is my wife. She may not think it. I believe God showed us that. I believe she's amazing. Now, the reason why I talk about her is because she has a brilliant, brilliant mind. She's like super intelligent, like brilliant mind. And so when I say that, okay, with her, no matter what I make, she can handle. No matter what happens, she can handle it. With her together, we create a blissful life that would bless generations after generations to generations. Now, when I look at the reconciliation with like, say, for instance, me and her will reconcile for a relationship. Not saying we have any problems or none, or there's problems, you know. What I'm saying is that us coming together benefits both of us because of what will happen. There is a covering and a covenant with people. The Bible said when a man finds a wife, he finds favor with God. A lot of that favor depends on the wife he finds. Some people are Vera Waynes. Some people are Debbie Levy. Some people are powerful women. You have to be able to embrace that. I have to have somebody like that. I can't have a weak, passive, aggressive woman. I'm going to run over her.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. I got to have somebody like, no, I'm not going to do that. But the devil's not afraid of the conflict, the incident, and the inability to reconcile. The devil's job is to stop that from happening, or what will be produced. Because I guarantee you, a woman like that, I'm going to be a millionaire 10 times over. A woman like that, I will never starve again. A woman like that, I'm walking around here with Gucci underwear on. I'm telling you. And not because that's the kind of life I want to live, but her ability supersedes, not just with her ability supersedes that. Now, how is that going to take place? God's going to reconcile. But that's when you look at the reconciliation, who it benefits. Because I don't want to reconcile with somebody that ain't going nowhere. I can be broke by myself.
See, that's the thing. For me, I don't feel like like I said, forgiveness or somebody to come and ask for my forgiveness is so important to me. I view reconciliation as not for me. I view reconciliation as to be in the right relationship with God, but also for that person. Because if that person can get up enough gumption to come and say, or to humble themselves, to say, I've done you wrong and I apologize. I feel like there's a higher calling on that for them, because now they've done they've humbled themselves, they've apologized. And now if they've changed and learned the lesson from that, then God is getting ready to take them to another place. So when I say I forgive you, I'm offering that reconciliation for them, not necessarily for me, because
reconciliation has to be for two people, because even though a person did you wrong, you had some part in it.
I know it's two people, not necessarily. I think it's two people in the situation, because you wouldn't have anybody to reconcile with. So yeah, it involves both people, but I just feel like the purpose, if I remove myself, I think if people learn to remove themselves from that equation, that you will have a faster path to reconciliation.
Yeah, but I also,
because
go ahead.
If not, I'm gonna prove my point in this.
Come on.
If I choose not to forgive them, a lot of times people won't do it because they want you to suffer. They want you to continue to be hurt. They won't forgive you because they want you to stay in pain. They want you to stay in a bad place. So if I say, no, I don't forgive you, I'm not going to reconcile with you, whether I don't want to be in a relationship with you, and I'm going to be mad and I'm going to be angry for whatever. Because giving them that forgiveness is a blessing to them, not necessarily me.
Well, the reason why I say forgiveness is because in some way of fashion or form, we have some wrong in it. Could be we chose less. God reminded us or revealed this person to us in the beginning. We didn't see God's counsel in the beginning. Or we didn't handle things different. If I would have been the man that I am today, I would have handled different relationships differently, and probably would have been married or being in them today, because I didn't handle them differently, because everyone's reaction, bad or good, has a root to it. And the question is, do I love a person enough to get to their root of their issues? Because a lot of issues that people have with you are not issues they have with you. They have issues because of you, because of what they've been through.
I believe I could take responsibility without taking fault.
Yes.
Because I don't believe every situation that I've ever been in that I was at fault. There are some situations that I didn't do anything to that person for them to do what they did or say what they said, or to require forgiveness on their part.
Well,
I can take responsibility for my choices or whatever, but that doesn't mean I'm at fault.
Right. Because sometimes God does not just send us a person, but he sends us an assignment. You got to remember that some of the people that God used in the Bible was messed up in the beginning. He used messed up people on purpose, because it was the chance of evolving, because a lot of times God is sending somebody that will not be what he said they are until it takes a certain time. Remember, Moses was in the palace for 40 years before, then he had to go to Midian for another 40 years before he came back to be the deliverer that was prophesied. So, we got to remember, before Peter denied Jesus, Jesus already said he's going to build a church on him. So the commitment to God was already there before the person had messed up, before Peter had denied him. So when I look at those things, because one of the things that will make people not reconcile with people is because they don't want to see that this person is good for them. So a lot of times, as long as we keep it somebody else's fault, then we won't see what they have or the importance or the value they add to our lives. Because some people are meant to be with you because they add value to you. It's not all about physical, because some people have a physical requirement. Some people have a monetary requirement. Some people have a spiritual requirement, but they don't know what God is going to do in that person's life. That's why God will show you, this is the person I have for you prior to that person being that. Because I believe, even though I believe in my heart of hearts that I know who my wife is, and I believe she knows who she is, it's not the time. When the time is right, God is going to make sure that we can't turn away, because it is not always about what somebody is at the time we see them.
Right. I wrote on that this morning.
Come on,
time.
talk about it.
Time is.
You got to stop me, because I like to preach. Now go ahead.
No, timing is everything, because I personally believe that God is going to send me my person, not a project. Now, me and that person could, have goals and set goals and things that we're going to achieve for one another. But just as who they are as a human being, I'm one of the ones that believe a person, because I'm not trying to change anybody, that you need to come as who you are, which is, and be the person that I need now. Because I know what I want. I know what I need.
But see, we can't be naive to the work. Too many people are naive to the work. They want
you can do the work, but if you got a project and not your person has come to you, and then there's gonna be conflict.
Because if you ask God for a cake, vanilla German chocolate cake, and God give you all the ingredients, did he give you a cake? Especially if you know how to cook. Did he give you a cake? Yes, he did. You just got to put it together, put it to work. You have to, you know how to bake. And that's what people don't want.
I would rather go to the store and buy chocolate cake.
Most people would do that. but at the same time, you appreciate that cake you made yourself better than you would the one you bought, because there is no value in the one you bought as the one you made.
I'll give you an example.
Come on.
First time I ever made a cake, it was terrible.
I heard
it was nasty.
They put it on Channel 7 News, like that cake was so bad,
it was so terrible,
that the homeless gave it back.
So I was like, that was my first cake. It just was lopsided and just crazy, right?
Hey, don't get it.
But it was good, but it was just so ugly. So I was like, okay, let me try this again. So I put together those ingredients again, and this time it came out. It looked beautiful, but it was nasty. So, by that analogy, I'm saying,
I should never ask you to bake my cake.
To bake cake. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's your mission to have that cake already done.
Or ask somebody to help you bake cake. They ask you to help you bake a cake. So listen, people, if y'all out there listening, please do not ask Anita Smith to make you a cake.
No, I know somebody.
She has said on national radio and TV in front of millions, she cannot cook cake. So is this your first radio show?
No.
But
no, I did a relationship segment some years back. It's been about 10 years now.
So what do you think? You think you could do radio full time? You do radio?
I think, I know I can do it. I'm ready.
Because I'm looking for another co-host. I got Gigi and you're welcome to do this with us if you like it. This in front of everybody. See, I ain't gonna ask you, probably, So you turn me down in front of everybody, then I can start crying.
Let's let the viewers decide. Y'all put in the comments yes or no.
Oh, they know you good. Back. They know you deep. They have no idea. I know her personally, so I know how deep she is. And look, have you ever seen 2 hours go by so fast?
No, this felt like it was 5 minutes.
Because
when you're having good conversation.
You know, let me ask you this question because we got about 15 minutes. Is there somebody you need to reconcile with that you refuse to?
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
pause.
just not gonna, I'm gonna keep it real at all times because I am still evolving too. I'm still a person. I wake up every single day asking myself, how can I be better? And just to be honest, it hasn't happened because it taps into an extremely hurtful place.
Okay.
That I'm not ready to deal with.
Understand.
Yeah.
Have you reconciled with yourself about what God said about you and what you should be doing?
Yes. Even in that situation, even in that situation, it's very complicated. It's familial. It's a familial situation. So you know how it is with family. Sometimes things can get really, really tough. I want to,
Okay.
but I actually have just come to acceptance that I don't think that's going to happen. So I've had to learn to shift my focus on forgiving that person in spite of themselves.
Well, you know what? I've learned to.
And I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be in fellowship.
Yeah. Okay.
With that person.
Well, reconciling fellowship, you don't have to fellowship with people, give them access to you.
But I haven't reconciled a particular issue with a family member. I'm working on it.
You think that's holding up your blessings?
It's possible.
Steve.
It's possible. I just have to be honest. It's possible. But it will. I'm learning little by little to let go. I'm learning little by little to let go. Because of that, what we talked about earlier, I find that there's still anger there. And so, anger can make you do some stupid stuff.
Yeah,
you have to really
see that look
that.
in your eyes, like you know, I ain't messing with you. You tough, you army tough. I ain't messing with you. Wow.
But I'm working on it. That's why when I knew that today's topic was reconciliation, it's some areas that this hit home.
Wow.
And I'm sure a lot of the people listening and the viewers, they can relate. This is a topic that all of us deal with because all of us are in relationship with others.
Yes.
And it's not easy.
And you know what? One of the things we have to understand that in some reconciliation that sometimes it's two bulls, two strong people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have to learn that God, when we talked about people that's equally yoked, that we have to realize if that person is equally yoked, they're equally strong. Like you got a great debater and they got another person that's a great debater in D2. Oh, y'all gonna talk for hours, but the thing is that how do you work together? My thing about reconciliation now is loomed in results in radical acceptance, because my thing is if you cannot deny what is good between two people and what is being accomplished. I've had people who if they're working with me and we're working together, you see the things happening, you can't deny that. But if you just have a perception of me and we never put nothing together, we never worked together, we never did anything together, then all you have is that perception of me, and losing that perception of me lose no value, period. Most people you should think, well, Corey, you cold. Some people, I've heard people say you cold, you don't feel it. And I try to tell them that is a therapeutic response to letting go trauma and letting go trauma bonds. Because why am I getting mad at somebody's perception of me that had no value to me? Why am I mourning something that's not existent? Somebody said, well, you know what? I'm going to take my friendship away from you. I'm going to end a relationship with you. Okay, fine. But if that relationship produced nothing together, then what am I losing? Why am I mourning that? Am I mourning the potential of what could be? But now you and I work together. We build a home. We build an infinite bank. We grow, we invest, we're doing things, and now we have a life to reconcile to. Hey, look at this. You're too important for me to lose you because look at what we've done. Mm-hmm. You're too important for me to do that. Let's do that, because a lot of times when we look at our life, most times our inability to reconcile is our own pride, our ego. What we feel, because some people want to be right and we've cost them their life and everything else. I'm going to be right. I watch somebody suffer in sickness to be right. even though everything that life say they were wrong. And you can make yourself right. There are people that use scriptures, different sayings to make themselves right. Even though you're using it in the context, they don't see the power of the scripture because they're using it to prove a point instead of moving from a point. I can't change what happened. I can't change what was said and what was done, but I can make today better. We can go from here. What do you have to bring to the table? This is what I have to bring to the table. Let's put a meal together. Let's eat days after that, day after that. Because I would rather move to a point with somebody than lose them because of a point.
Oh, that's dope. That's powerful.
Woo.
So that comes down to one of my favorite sayings. Do you want to be right or do you want to be effective?
Woo.
You know,
Oh.
because sometimes we can be so focused on being right, we're no longer effective. And I'm at the place in my life, and I learned that from someone who learned it from therapy. Do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? And I know time is getting down. I just want to say, you know, as far as reconciliation, I took some notes. I'm looking at my notes that I didn't say. It's a process for addressing grievances, encouraging direct communication, and resolution. So it's an active process that requires humility, forgiveness, and commitment to restoring broken relationships.
That is good. You know, and listen, people, y'all listening next week and the 23rd and the 30th, I will have medical doctors here. Gigi, she's going to take a few vacations, want to get healed. So she won't be here on the 23rd or the 30th. I'll be here with about 4 or 5 doctors. We're going to talk about women's health, especially women's health in our Black communities. When they brought this to me about the numbers of people are not taking care of themselves, especially women, some who living with certain things that don't want to get checkups. It just hit me, and I wanted to talk about it, but you know me, I'm not going to talk about what I don't know. I'll bring in experts to do that. So in December, from December the 7th all the way to the 21st, they're going to be having free screenings for everything. Like it's all confidential. You need to know what it is. If you suffer with something, this has nothing to do with your medical history at any hospital. They're going to talk first for the next 2 weeks, 2 shows about the importance of women's health. You know, how some things can be avoidable if it's caught early, and a lot of results to be different if people do. Not just, you know, I mean, we're going to concentrate on men as well, but I want to concentrate on the women right now, because the numbers of women that's not taking care of themselves, especially in the Afro-American community, is staggering.
And also the disparities in healthcare as it relates to African-American women. We have to be strong advocates for ourselves. So whether you are a woman, whether you are a man listening to this, tell everybody over the next 2 weeks, tune in. You do not want to miss this.
Yes.
Men, you need to know what's happening. If you have a woman in your life, you tune in too. And tell everybody, tell your mothers and sisters and aunts and daughters, tune in. You do not want to miss this information.
And you can ask the doctors directly. You can put your questions on there. They will talk. And you can ask them, because a lot of people are afraid to go to the doctor. And I'm hoping that this will change it. That your 2 weeks of my radio show will be that for this event next
It'll be
month.
life-changing.
Life-changing.
Especially the part about early detection. It's so many things going on with our bodies that only if you got these screenings and found out what was going on with you in the early stages, they can correct it, they can fix it. You don't have to live and suffer and die from something that could have been handled with a mere screening, one test.
Well, you can't look at that, boy. We like Ashford and Simpson on the radio. If boy can't touch us, woo! But that is so true. And I think that everybody in the network, everybody that's watching, you guys, you got to tune in, because you got doctors, medical doctors. We even have one on the 30th, a specialist from California will be Skyping in. He will be Skyping in. And when he talk about what's going on and the stuff that's going on, it is going to blow you guys away. And the Solutions Radio Show under the WVTC network, we're going to tackle women's health.
Yeah, we just had a big month last month with breast cancer awareness.
Breast cancer awareness.
So all types of cancers, all type of, disparities in our body, coming off of COVID, and so much more information that we've learned. And we just want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Yes. Is anybody you want to say hi to? And, we got about 5 minutes. Anybody want to say hello to?
I'll say hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Say hi to my mom. Hi to my sisters and brothers.
So with the spirit, this is our first radio show together. How you like it?
It's good. I thank you for having me. I thank WVTC for doing this show and the Solutions Radio Show. I appreciate being here. I appreciate sharing my thoughts. It's been fun.
And you deep. They don't know how deep you are, do they? They need to follow you your page. She's super deep. She is super deep. She's the one I be sharing stuff. I be sharing on my page. How deep she is. So I think she did great.
You can follow me on Facebook. Find me under Anita L. Smith.
Anita L. Smith. I never asked you what the L stand for.
It's a middle name.
Oh, you don't want to say it. She don't want to say it. Hercules. So I've had such a great opportunity. I'm very excited. I don't take this lightly.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I say this before we end the show, is that if there is somebody you need to reconcile with, do it today. Someone who's done a lot of funerals, you can't reconcile when that person's the guest of honor in front of a church lying there. That some people have allowed their anger, pride, and egos to get in the way of reconciliation, because once that person is gone, they can't hear it.
Yeah.
We don't know if we're going to wake up the next day. Every minute that God gives us is a gift, and we must learn to reconcile. If you have an opportunity to make things right, reconcile, because the worst thing you can do is to mourn somebody that's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And every day life is worth living. So when somebody says, how are you? How you doing today? I'm present. I don't just want to be here. I want to live this life. And so you want to be free. You don't want to go around carrying regrets. You don't want to go around with that heavy burden on you. So just lift that burden. If there's anybody under my voice that has somebody that they are not in good standing with, and you are able to reach out to them, pick up the phone, stop by, just, offer that apology, or offer, open up the communication to say, hey, can we talk about this? And get it off your chest.
Because that might be the catalyst that's holding up your blessings. That might be the reason why God has not answered your prayers and healed your body, healed your land, healed your family. It's because there is unforgiveness. There is non-reconciliation. Now, if a person was out of order, you can reconcile with them, but you don't have to rock with them, fellowship with them. But at the same time, you don't want to hold God, because what we don't let go, forgive others, God can't forgive us. And I don't want God to hold anything against me because I'm holding something against somebody else.
And if you need to forgive yourself, forgive yourself.
Oh,
if that person is no longer with us, then give it to God.
Yes.
And if sometimes you might just need to wrap your arms around your own self and give yourself a big squeeze and just say, you know what, I forgive you. I love you. You have to reconcile to God, reconcile to yourself, reconcile them back to God and themselves.
Okay. Well, people, thank you for tuning in. My special guest, Miss Anita L. Smith.
Thank you.
Even though she ain't gonna tell us what the L mean.
It's Lamia.
Who?
Lamia.
Okay, well, you had to tell me. We thank you guys. Remember, you have to be your own rescue. You're responsible for getting healing. You're responsible for changing life. Remember, God loves you. We love you. Without you will be no us. We will see you next week. Love you guys. It was